Hello and welcome to the Deception Tips podcast, where you will learn amazing cues to detect deceit that will help you read people like never before. I'm your host, Spencer Kaufman. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to episode 81 of the Deception Tips podcast. I have a favor to ask of you. If you would please hop on iTunes or iHeartRadio or Google Play or wherever you're listening to this podcast and leave a review. And then take it a step further, share that review on your social media platforms, let other people know that you're learning how to read people, detect deception, and help them learn how to do the same as well, so that your friends and family will not be taken advantage of by lies. Share this with them, and also leave a review so that others can find it, because reviews really do help. They're like gold for any kind of producer, author, podcaster. So leave reviews because they tremendously help other people find that product. Anyway, moving on with what we talked about last week, it was a good episode, a big episode for me because we finally made it to smiles in lying. If you remember, I conducted a smile study, a study back in 2013 on whether or not people could accurately detect the difference between a real versus a fake smile. Now, the study was published in 2013, but I conducted a lot of the research in 2012. Either way, I found out a lot of alarming results and contradictory results compared to what the big-time and standard people found in that industry. But we were talking about smiles and lying. So smiles are very prevalent in lies because a smile is the easiest way to mask an emotion. When someone is feeling some type of emotion, a smile will quickly cover it up. Why? Well, because a smile takes control of the entire face. So if there's a little expression somewhere on the face, a smile will easily cover up it and any other expressions that may be happening. That alone is an act of deception. The smile covering another emotion. Then you have the deception that is going on with whatever that leakage was. So remember that the unconscious is always trying to leak out nonverbal and verbal signs of truth. So if there's some kind of expression that happens on the face, that's the unconscious trying to leak something out. Then the conscious tries to cover it up with a smile. So that's two acts of deception. You will see the smile and you need to determine whether it's a masking smile, fake smile, or a real smile. So fake or real. If it's fake, then that's deception right there. Then you need to figure out what it was covering up, because chances are it was covering up some form of truthful behavior. So you need to figure out what was going on so that you know exactly what they were lying about or what was being hidden right there. A lot of steps, and the smile is the key to understanding and to opening the door to go down that path and get into the other rooms and solve that puzzle. So keep that in mind. Today we are talking about another sign of deception that isn't a sign at all. It's a strategy. This is a strategy you can use to practice your deception detecting skills. It will also help you a lot more in reading people and understanding body language because you'll be able to put it together. You'll start to see this. Now, I warn you, it is a little bit frustrating in the beginning and it could be boring and seem pointless. The reason is because it really is kind of boring. You're not really doing anything other than watching, and you don't even really know what you're watching in the beginning until you start to pay attention and understand the different signs that are going on people's bodies. However, I promise you that it will help. It is interesting once you start to understand what's going on and once you get to know it. In addition, we've also hinted on this sign a couple episodes ago when I mentioned how you should be believing body language because body language is truthful. Now, when I say body language, I mean unconscious body language. Stuff that's leaked out by the unconscious as signs of truth. So I mentioned a good way for you to help improve your body language detecting skills is to watch TV with it on mute so that you will be able to see the people's body language instead of focusing on what they're saying and listening to it all. Another thing you could do would be to watch crowds at a distance or watch interrogations of people from the other room without audio, so you can't hear these things. But either way, here it is. This is deception tip number 81. A good way to train yourself to be more observant towards body language is to watch television on mute. Here it is again, deception tip number 81. A good way to train yourself to be more observant towards body language is to watch television on mute. Again, watching TV on mute can be a little bit boring. However, I recommend that you start with something that you already know. Therefore, pick a movie or a TV show that you've seen before, that you kind of enjoy, maybe one of your favorites, that maybe you don't necessarily know all the words to it if you could, but one that you would at least understand what's going on in the film or in the picture, so that when you're watching it off volume on mute, then you will still kind of have an idea of what's happening. That way, when you start to see body language appear, you can think about what's going on at that moment in the picture, and you'll be able to kind of reason and say, okay, I remember from seeing this before that when they did this, that's this part in the movie. And this is about to happen, and this is going to happen. So that little sign that I saw probably does indicate the fact that that person is lying, and you can get excited about it because you know what's about to happen because you've seen the movie before. So you'll be able to tell whether or not your detecting skills are on. Another thing is when you know that there are certain things in the picture where people might be lying or where signs might be coming out, if you've seen that before, you can watch without the volume to see if you notice any nonverbal signs. Now, a big argument that happens with this is, well, TV is fake. So how can these signs be true? If they're only actors, are they really lying? The entire show is an act. They're lying the entire time. They're playing a role. They're not even being themselves. If someone's acting, they're lying. They're saying that they're a different name than they are. So shouldn't you see signs of deception throughout the entire thing? Because if someone is acting and they're saying, I am so-and-so, well, that's not their real name. That's their name in the movie. Therefore, wouldn't that be a lie? And how about all the different things that are happening? If they're supposed to lie in the film and pretend to deceive someone, well, is it really deceiving them if the entire film is a lie? Because that's what they're supposed to do. They're acting. So how can it be a true emotion and really be portrayed on the body if the whole thing is only an act and they're only actors? Those are some really great questions, and we're going to address them coming up right after this.
Do you read the reviews on Amazon before making a purchase? Reviews help consumers find products that interest them. The same is true with podcasts. Consider reviewing this podcast to help others learn how to detect deception.
Welcome back to Deception Tip episode number 81, where we're talking about the importance of watching TV with the volume muted. Why is that important? Because you will be able to read people and detect deception without any distractions of volume or sound or people talking. You'll be able to just kind of hone in on the body language and see what you can see, and especially if it's something you've seen before, like a movie or a picture or a TV show that you know, you'll be able to better pick up on what's happening in the movie or the film or picture or whatever, and you should be able to keep your interest a lot longer because you already know what's going on. It won't be so boring or dull for you. Before we took a little break, I brought up some questions on whether or not it will really be a good thing for you to do, because when someone is in a film, they're acting. Therefore, that entire act is a form of deception, because they are saying they're someone they're not. They're playing a role. They're pretending to be someone else. The things that are going on in that movie aren't real. They're fake. Therefore, if they have to lie or deceive someone as a part of that role, are they really deceiving someone because the entire thing is essentially an act of deception? They're playing a role. Well, the good news is that doesn't matter, because when someone is acting, a good actor gets into the role. So in their mind, they are becoming that person. They're becoming that character. Therefore, while they're playing that part, inside, they believe that's who they are. They're a great actor. They become the role. If they are playing some kind of a police officer, they are a police officer. They become it. How do we know that good actors become their role? Well, years ago, there was a very famous prison experiment. You've probably heard of it. It's called the Stanford Prison Experiment. They took ordinary people and they divided them half and half. And they said half are going to be guards, half are going to be inmates. And we're going to see what happens. It was supposed to be a really long study, several weeks. However, the people in there, they weren't prison guards, they weren't police officers, they weren't inmates. They were ordinary people. Teachers, doctors, whatever, all kinds of regular jobs. And after only a week or two, it got so serious, they had to stop the study. Why did it get so serious? Because these people started to believe that that is who they were. The guards started to believe that they were prison guards. They were being rough with these prisoners. The prisoners, they lost their sense of purpose, self-worth, everything. They thought that they were worthless inmates who only were a number. They didn't have an identity. They had nothing. These people became who they were told to be. So a good actor, even if they're not a good actor, if they are playing that part long enough, a movie can take months to produce. This study only happened for a couple weeks and they had to discontinue. They had to stop because it was getting too crazy. Actors, when they're working for weeks on a project or months, they will become that role. So like your TV shows that have season after season after season with 10 seasons or 14 seasons or however many, they're becoming those people. Therefore, in their minds and in their bodies, they believe they are that role. They know they're not, obviously, but their body language and everything will reflect that person, that personality. Therefore, when they're in the movie and they're acting, it's not an act of deception to them. They are that person. So it is who they are. Then, what about the question of when someone lies in the movie as a part of that role? Will their body and will their unconscious and everything really see it as a lie because it's not something that is truthful? Well, the answer to that is yes. Even though it's acting and the whole thing isn't really real, they will still perceive it as a lie, as deception. Because, remember, even though the whole thing isn't real, to them, they are that person. They are that role. So they know what's supposed to happen. They know, okay, at this minute in, when we're in this scenario, I am supposed to lie about what I did. Even though they didn't do it. Well, they did it in the movie. Or they did it in the script. So their character did it. And they are now lying about it. That means it is a lie because they did it in their mind. They made it real for them. Therefore, they will still exhibit all of these signs of deception. So you will be able to see this while watching TV, even if it is a reality or a fictitious show, some kind of a TV show like The Mentalist, where they are interrogating people, and that one is centered on watching people and reading them and analyzing them, but you will see signs of deception within those characters or those suspects. And another great TV show, Lie to Me. That one is all about reading people and detecting deception. I highly recommend it. You will see signs in there. Some of those signs may be scripted because they are intentionally trying to teach people how to read people and detect deception. That's probably why the show was discontinued, because it was too powerful. People were really learning with watching that show. Either way, if you don't believe what I'm saying, and I haven't convinced you, and you're not convinced by watching TV, you could even watch TV shows like Monk or Burn Notice. Those also have deception and lies that you could spot and you could see on people. But if you're still skeptical, then simply go ahead and watch the news and watch politicians speak. Watch those kinds of things, because those are filmed generally live and in real life, and they aren't scripted. They're not acting. The person is who they are. They're not playing a role. Therefore, when you see them talk, you should be able to pick up a lot of signs of body language, deception, etc. So no matter what you're watching, know that you can still pick up these signs of deception and body language in whatever you're watching. In a TV show that's scripted, you may know when it's a lie and when it's a truth already, and you can see if there are signs that go with it. When you're watching news or a politician speech, you won't know, but you may see it. So keep trying, keep learning, never give up detecting deception. I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Deception Tips Podcast. I hope that you'll share it with your friends, subscribe to the feed, check out the Deception Tips videos, the blog, and take a look at the books I have available. And as always, tune in next week for a new Deception Tip.